To introduce Swami Shuddhidanji Maharaj, who will be giving the inaugural address. Swami Shuddhidanji Maharaj is a senior monk of the Ramakrishna order and Adhyaksha, president of the Advaita Ashrama based in Mayavati with a center in Kolkata. The center at Advaita Ashram Mayavati is a Vedantic center envisioned by Swami Vivekananda himself. Swami Shuddhidanji gives lectures on various topics such as Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta. In addition, he also conducts specialized spiritual retreats. He has contributed to significant publications on Vedanta, Sri Ramakrishna, and Swami Vivekananda. He has edited and compiled many books such as Vivekananda as the Turning Point, The Rise of a New Spiritual Wave, Hinduism, the Faith Eternal, selections from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. He has also been guiding students and faculty members at IIT Kharagpur. I request Swami Shuddhidanji Maharaj to kindly give the inaugural address. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will have the question and answer session with these eminent panelists. I request the panelists to kindly come to the dais, Swami Shuddhidanji Maharaj and Swami Parameshwanji Maharaj. And this is your time. We request you to express your questions or doubts or comments that you have in response to the two enlightening lectures we heard. Our volunteer will come with the mic. Kindly raise your hands and we will ask the questions which will be posed to the panel here, eminent panel, and they will be answering your questions. So we'll now go over to the question and answer session.
Good morning everyone. Good morning Pranam Maharaj. So Maharaj, you have talked about the human values, and I am working in an IT field for last 12 years, and many times we have seen that although we want to upgrade our human values, want to upgrade our values in our daily life or in our work as well, but many times we have seen that the people who we work with are not trying to upgrade their values, and sometimes it gets demoralized for us as well while working continuously in the same project, or we might not be relieved from that project with that toxic kind of people that we are working on. So what to do then? What can we do to upgrade our values still at that point of time?
You see, this is not a new problem, nothing very specific to our present times. This is the age-old eternal problem. Toxic people have always been there, even during the time of Ramayana, Mahabharata, even today, and thousands of years later also it is going to be the same situation. Society is a mixture of the so-called good and bad forces. It will be there. So, you see, that is what exactly the great masters have spoken about. The art of negotiating our surrounding, which is a mixture of good and bad. How do you do that? Without compromising your own integrity. Again, I repeat the sentence. The real philosophy of life, the complete philosophy of life will be that which teaches us the art of negotiating our surrounding, which is a mixture of good as well as evil, in such a manner that you do it without compromising with your own integrity. This is the philosophy of life. This is what precisely Krishna was teaching Arjuna. So actually here you have to bring certain spiritual elements without which we can't see. Cosmetic kind of a treatment to this problem is not going to solve the problem. We may have to go to the foundation of this whole issue. And there, actually speaking, the spiritual aspect comes. As I told in my introduction, that you see, all the values, truly speaking, comes from the non-material dimension and never from the material and physical dimension. Left to itself, this body and the senses, they are all greedy and selfish. So from where is this spirit of unselfishness going to come? It has to come from the non-material and non-physical dimension. So unless you investigate into your own spiritual dimension, you see, as you said, nowadays, people, they set up goals, but they fail to achieve that goal. Another thing, the tremendous competition which we find in the society, in which somebody is earning this much and you also want to reach at that level, but you are unable to, and that creates a kind of a complex situation in your mind with all kinds of complexes. Now the question is, how are we going to, what is the secret of remaining absolutely peaceful and without being disturbed in all this so-called complicated situation? Swami Vivekananda and all the great masters, they have told, what is the secret here? The secret is only lying in the art of managing your mind. See, we are all busy managing things outside. We all, IIMs, all the institutes of management, we are busy managing other people. We have chalked out wonderful strategies to manage our surroundings, manage business, manage this, manage that. But before managing others, we have to learn the art of managing our own self. And when I talk about managing our own self, the most important thing is the art of managing the human mind itself. There are some wonderful practices are there, some principles are there. We should understand the principle which governs the behavior of a mind in a certain situation. See, I am talking to you, you're all here, we are all constantly interacting with the world, but the mind responds in several ways depending upon where it is actually founded. If you find the true anchor of the mind, you see the whole thing changes. The answer to your question lies there. To find the real grounding, the real anchor of the mind. And where is that? That is in somewhere deeper within one's own self. If that is done, you will see that with a perfectly mastered mind, you will be able to remain absolutely undisturbed, even in a very so-called complicated, compounded kind of a situation. See, I was just referring to these lofty personalities. Why are they not disturbed in all the situations? Like I just spoke about one instance of Ram. Just imagine if your father or somebody comes and tells you tomorrow you go to the forest, what is going to be your response? Or my response in that situation. We are studying the responses. From where are these responses emerging? It's profound psychology, in-depth understanding of the human system, how we behave, what governs our human behavior. It depends upon two platforms on which the human being stands. If it is more towards the material dimension of the human personality, your response will be of one kind. Then we are asking these questions. You can't help it. And if you are stationed in the so-called more on the non-material side, your response will be of a totally different kind. You will be able to very intelligently handle your surrounding without losing the smile on your face. I want to stress this point. Swami Vivekananda's one sentence comes to my mind. There is nothing under the sun that can snatch away the smile from your faces. There is nothing under the sun that can, actually speaking, govern you. We are all independent of our surroundings. This independence is what we have to discover. I'm just giving you a general answer. You have to apply it to your situation.
Thank you, Swamiji.
So I'm setting little context because from that question is around that. So I am Associate Tech Fellow and in the aircraft health management and AI in Boeing. So we are running two NGOs in the inspiration of Swami Vivekananda. So what challenges I'm facing in social this NGO context? We are okay. There are a number of volunteers coming up, but it is growing very slowly. And other hand, in office also I'm seeing a lot of people are talented, youngsters are talented with less energy. So one thing I explored that, okay, day-to-day practices, whatever you suggested, like meditation, reading books, attending satsang, all these things is important. But also maybe living example can be another way to progress that. But I'm not perfect, so it will be very slow progression. So in that direction, I think that whatever you mentioned, the transformation starts from individual, correct? So what is your suggestion? How to motivate volunteers in NGO, how to motivate in office, youngsters?
Source of motivation. We have to change ourselves. A self-motivated person, he can easily infuse motivation into others. See, one thing I always, behind all these questions, there's one common thread which runs through all these questions, and that common thread is what, one thing we have to be very clear about what is this actually human system meant for. I ask this question once again. See, we have to go to the roots of the whole issue. As I said, activity is an inseparable part of human life. So let us not compartmentalize what kind of an activity, whether it is IT, medicine, engineering, doesn't matter. You can't remain quiet. Every human being has to be active in some form or the other. See, we are all a packet of energy, actually speaking. If you just look at yourself, come on, let us have a different perspective of understanding the whole thing. Every human being is a packet of energy. And remember, it's an infinite packet of energy, limitless packet of energy. Now the question is, this packet of energy can remain scattered aimlessly, purposelessly. That is one situation or the one kind of handling this packet of energy. Other is, this packet of energy is perfectly conserved, self-restrained, perfectly integrated. Two situations with two consequences. No matter what you do on the surface, as long as your energy is simply scattered meaninglessly. Meaninglessly, what do you mean? What do I mean by saying meaninglessly scattered energy? When we are thinking that these material things of the world alone can satisfy us and can make us happy, we are in a big delusion. This idea has to be debunked first. That the material things and the money, etc., alone can make us happy. If this point is very clear, you see automatically a kind of a restraint will come in your system. And then when your energies are conserved, when you yourself become a dynamo of power, and that happens when you conserve your energy, you don't let your energy become scattered, then you yourself will become a tremendous source of motivation and inspiration for others. For example, Vivekananda. Why is that we derive so much power and motivation and inspiration from Vivekananda? Because just look at, his energies are not scattered like your energy and my energy. It's a perfectly conserved energy. And this conserved energy itself becomes a center of tremendous motivation and inspiration for others. So again I tell you, as human beings, the life essentially is meant for self-mastery and self-perfection. And there these higher values come. No matter what you do, in which profession you are, our life is essentially meant for self-perfection. Let us not forget this point. No matter what you're doing, we are in the offices. Our office is an arena for yourself to become self-mastered and self-perfected. Your IT field, your medical field, your engineering field, every field is a field for you to become perfected and self-mastered. If you keep this as an ideal, then the whole picture changes.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. I just we'll have more opportunities for questions in the break period. So I first of all, on behalf of all of you, would like to thank both Swami Shuddhidanji Maharaj and Swami Parameshwanji Maharaj for giving us such an enlightening talk today morning. I request Swami Shivkrupanji Maharaj and Swami Bodhaswarupanji Maharaj to kindly offer a token of our gratitude to the Swamis.